don't know.
Hello, hello, everyone, and welcome to the Ella Johnson Show. Listen, I am so excited. I want to apologize to you guys for running a little late. We had some tough technical difficulties. That happens when it's live TV, but we're here now, and I am so excited for tonight's broadcast because tonight we're going to be talking to some Texas beauties. Yes, more than just a pretty face in the house. I love it. I love it. Listen, I am excited whenever anyone wants to share their story and their journey here on the Ella Johnson Show. Well, tonight I have two beauties that are going to do just that. But, before we get started with our show, I really like to start off with something motivational for everybody. Now, I want you to know if you are watching from Facebook, I really do appreciate you. If you are watching from YouTube, I also appreciate that. But I want you to do me a favor. If you're over there on YouTube, since you're already there, just subscribe to the channel. All right. That way you don't have to miss anything moving forward, right? Because we have some awesome shows here, the Ella Johnson Show. So I want you guys to do me a favor. I want you to comment tonight, ask questions to the ladies, the women, because their stories are very interesting. Give them support, whatever, you know how we do things here. But before we do that, I want to get started with a motivational message because I think that this is the time to just set the week, just set the mood for the week, because you're going to have some stuff. And I want you to have something to refer back to in case some things go down and you just might not understand. But I like to take real things and turn it into a motivational message. And tonight I want to talk about math. Yeah, I was pretty good at math, but that's not what I'm going to talk about tonight. But I want you guys to take your life and we're going to compare it to a math problem, right? Now, in a math problem, you have numbers on both sides of whatever the sign is, right? You're either going to add, you're either going to divide, you're going to multiply, or you're going to subtract, right? So on both sides of those, the end result is there's a formula that has to be applied to that equation to get a result, right? Now I want you to think about your life, okay? Now the numbers in that equation represent life, situations, okay? Everybody has those. Now, the sign represents we're either going to add some more situations to the life that we're already living. We're going to take away some things maybe we lost. We're going to multiply because, some of us got hell in us sometimes and we just multiply the problems. Hello. Or we may divide because sometimes when we divide, when we separate ourselves from God, we get divided, right? So no matter what the equation is, there's a formula that needs to be applied to it. Now, what's the formula? The Word of God. Not only the Word of God, but actually doing the Word of God, believing the Word of God, praying. All those things come out with the formula. Now, I want you to take that formula and I want you to apply it to that equation, the life situations. Now, God can move because in life, just like in the classroom, when you apply the formula, it works. The same thing that happens to us in our lives. When we apply the Word of God, when we apply what we believe, when we act on what we believe, and when we pray, we get the results that we need when we apply the Word of God to those situations, right? So listen, when we come back, you guys are going to meet these beauties I'm talking about. Don't go anywhere. But what I want you to do while we're watching this intro video, I want you to share the broadcast. Go ahead and get you something to drink because we might be here a while, right? I don't know how we do it, but I want you to do that. And when we come back, you're going to meet my guest tonight, um, these Texas beauties. We'll be right back.
table for Real Talk TV, The Ella Johnson Show, on Facebook and YouTube. You won't regret it.
I'm so excited that you've taken time out to tune in to the Ella Johnson Show. I hope that you enjoy the broadcast. I hope you'll laugh. I hope you'll cry. But I hope that you'll be moved by what you hear. Well, my guests are very special to me, and so are you. So I want you to sit back, enjoy the show, and we'll see you at the end of the broadcast. What you can become depends on what you can overcome. My children's book, Love You More, is out now. Go to Amazon and purchase it today. And now it's time for the Ella Johnson Show, where we set the table for real talk conversation. Stay tuned. Hello, everyone, and welcome again to the Ella Johnson Show. We are back. Listen, let me tell you something. When you have women that have a plan, and when God works in that plan, the devil can't stop it, because we were having some technical difficulties here, but we are here, and we are very excited to be here tonight. Look at these beauties that are sitting with me. Listen, I've had a lot of people on the show, but I've never had Miss Black USA. I've never had Miss Texas USA sitting on the couch with me. All right. When I say sitting on the couch, now y'all don't see a couch for real, but let's just imagine. All right. I always wanted to say that. Oprah says it. But listen, I am so excited to have both of you here tonight. If you are just tuning into the Ella Johnson Show, tonight it's more than a pretty face. Texas beauties tell all. Now, listen, I am excited. I know you guys are excited. I want you guys to share with you. This is some things that we're going to do today. Now, as the show, you see how they're putting comments? Because they already know. They're always here. But they know that if you put a comment there, I'm going to bring it up on the screen. And I think it's so awesome because our guests want to know that you're there and that you're engaged and that if you have any questions, definitely if you're a young woman or a young lady out there and you want questions from these beauty queens, definitely. This is the place to do it, I'm telling you. But welcome, ladies. Yes.
Hello. Can you guys even see me?
I can see you, of course.
Okay, because my screen is black with this little wheel just going around and around.
Are you serious?
Yeah, but if you guys can see me, that's all that matters.
I can see you. You're beautiful as you always are.
Thank you. You too, love.
Oh, yes. Well, listen, I've been trying to get you on the Ella Johnson Show for so long, Sydney. So thank you, Acelia, because you're coming on. She's excited, from beauty queen to beauty queen. So I am so excited. But I want you guys to meet the women that are sitting with me today. First, we have Miss Acelia. She, at age 17, guys, she made a decision that impacted the rest of her life. And it has given her some good things and some empowering things. And because of what she's doing, she's able to help so many other people. And you're going to hear about a lot of that. But although she struggled with insecurity and poor self-image of herself, even beauty queens can have that as well. But even though she did that, she went on to become Miss Black USA 2011. What? That's what I'm talking about. Now, in the middle of all of that, she was the first Texas woman to be named and crowned. She was also competing in the Miss Black Texas. Get this, guys, for 3 times. After 3 times, not once, twice, but after 3 times, she finally won, right? She's married to Minister Rod Sproul, and together they're planning a new church in Northwest Fort Worth, Texas. That's a mouthful. Thrive Church, guys. I'm excited about that. She's the founder and CEO of More Than Just a Pretty Face International, where she mentors girls and women that there's more to beauty than meets the eye. Welcome, Queen, Miss Acelia Sproul, to the Ella Johnson Show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Glad to be here.
I know. Isn't she beautiful? Right? Like, just
Beautiful.
I just
Yes.
it's so real that you just can't ignore it, right? You see her and you see her beauty, and your presence just speaks volume without even saying a word, Miss Acelia, with the things you've done. I've had time to read up on you. You are, listen, I'm honored to have you here. For real. And then we have, look at this hair. That's what we're gonna call it.
Yes.
Beautiful, right? Beautiful. Now, she was recently crowned first runner up in the Miss Texas USA. Like, that's very fresh. That's awesome. That's awesome. And later in the show, I'm going to show the video of that moment when she won. And you too, Acelia. I have that.
Oh, wow.
So you guys can see. Yes, I'm telling you, I got chills, right? Now, listen, guys, Sydney is very young, but she's already been in 5 pageants already. And she's sitting here today and she's going to share her story. She's a model, she's an aspiring actress, and she is my cousin. Yes. Welcome to the Ella Johnson Show, Sydney.
Thank you. We've been talking about having me on here. So to finally get here, I'm super excited to see what we talk about and just honored to be here. And I'm super excited. I'm proud of you. And, you know, it runs in the family. So also
Yes.
nice to meet you, Acelia, as well. You're stunning, and congratulations on your success and endeavors.
Oh, thank you. So
You're
good to
welcome.
meet you as well, Sydney. Miss Texas USA is no small feat. So congratulations on your first runner-up place.
Thank you. Thank you. It has been, if you can imagine, just a journey, I would like to call it. So I'll definitely love to talk more about it as we move along.
Well, I think it's amazing because both of you are from Texas, and we ended up here. When you said, when I was talking about you, I said, yes, Texas, Sydney, absolutely, she has to come on the show. And it was like, Sydney, you're coming on my show next Sunday. She's like, okay, and I just think that it's good that we can come together because I think Sydney can learn a lot from you, Acelia. I really do, as far as her journey, where she's going. She's done well so far. I mean, Miss Texas first runner up. Yeah, we'll take it. We'll take it. I was watching the video, Sydney, and I was like, come on, let her win. But you know what? It's okay. It's okay. Because
it's okay. I was believe it or not, I had talked to my mom. So usually during competition weekend, I don't respond a lot. Usually I post when I can just to show my involvement, but I'm not necessarily responding to a lot of people because it can get very overwhelming, or, everyone is trying to put their input in at the last second. So I said, you know what, this weekend, I just want to show up for Sydney and I just want to have a fun, exciting experience. And I did just that. I laughed so much during this competition, more than I have done any competition. I had so much fun with my roommate. I had so much fun with the girls that I was next to in line during regular preliminary competition, during top 19, during top 5. It was just a completely inexplainable experience, and I just really felt God put his hands on me because I had prayed for that. I was nervous. I was, believe it or not, I was nervous, and I said, oh my gosh, I feel ready, but I'm still nervous. I can't shake it. And I just asked my mom to pray for me to have this calmness about myself and just present just the energy that I wanted to show. And after that moment, I was so calm, and I just felt that it was my time. I was doing my thing. I didn't second guess anything. I asked God to speak through me when I was answering my top 5 question. And I really feel that I just hit the nail on the head. And like I said, I have no idea how it looked so seamless. But again, I was just there. I was in the moment, and I really just felt that God was working through me and, showing his work and showing the faithfulness that I have been to him. So it was just such an amazing experience, and I really can't wait to do it again.
Oh, wow. Listen, Acelia, I know that you can relate to everything that she's
Yeah.
talking about, but I want to pick your brain. I want to go all the way back. I want to
Okay.
go back because I know that there may be young women watching this, and the journey is so important. I know I love to talk about where we are, but the journey is just as important because it's where people get encouraged. So I want to go all the way back to the days when you were just a young lady growing up in your mom's household. Tell us how your household structure was. Mom, dad, how was that?
Wow. Well, when I was really young, I grew up in a town called Texarkana. Don't know if Sydney has heard of Texarkana, but that's where I grew up. I grew up on the border of Texas and Arkansas, and with my mom. My mom and dad were married when I was very young, but they divorced when I was about 4 years old. And so that divorce was very difficult for me at a young age because my father really wasn't around after that point. I didn't have a strong relationship with him. And then when I was 10 years old, I discovered that my father had passed away. It was the morning after Christmas. At 43 years old, he had died of a heart attack. Now, when I was a little girl, I thought 43 was old. But now that I'm an adult, I'm like, wow, my father died really young.
Yes, he
No,
did.
that was really young to pass away from a heart attack. So I dealt with a lot of low self-esteem issues and poor self-image, all because I didn't have my father growing up. It was me and my mom, and we also lived with my grandmother. We moved in with my grandmother, and I had a good upbringing overall, a very loving upbringing, but I still had that void of not having that
Yeah.
relationship with my father. And then the day that he passed away, that dream of getting to know him passed away as well. And so that's something I'll never get to experience. And that really hit me in a very heavy way. It was so difficult for me as a young girl, as I was trying to discover myself and my own self-worth and who I was in the world.
Describe that moment when you finally accepted it, though.
Man, the moment I accepted it was, believe it or not, when I was 16 years old. I grew up in the church, but I like to tell people I believed in Jesus just like Santa Claus and Easter Bunny. He was just a superhero to me. I didn't have a real understanding of who Christ
Right.
was and what he had done for me. So I was 16 years old, and I remember going to a revival that week at my church. And I don't know what made me go, but I was like, I'm going to go to a revival. And so there was this preacher from Ohio. I wish I could remember his name, but he just preached so hard, and he was so authentic and raw in explaining the gospel that at the end of that revival week, I never went down to the altar, but I remember driving after the revival, and I just cried and poured my heart out and really gave my life to Christ in that moment. It is a miracle that I made it to where I was driving to, because I don't remember anything. I just remember getting in that car, praying, giving my life to Christ, crying, and then all of a sudden I ended up arriving at my destination. So that moment really marked the journey, I would say, of accepting who I was. It didn't happen instantaneously, but that laid the foundation for me discovering my purpose as a young woman, my worth and my value, and who I could be in the world because I belong to God. Having that relationship was so defining for me at a young age, and it set the trajectory for everything I've done in life, including pageantry.
Wow. I think that's so good because I know from just reading what I did read about you, your mom had a lot to do with it. You had a lot of positive people around you that
Yeah.
poured into your life. So it was easier for you to just finally say, you know what? You've been hearing the word. You may not have known everything they were talking about, but you were in the building, right? And it
Right.
was being deposited into your spirit. So that moment was defining. That's awesome. And I read that you and your mom watched beauty pageants. I think a lot of people that are watching this broadcast, because I used to watch beauty pageants all the time, but I was also the person that would go to weddings and didn't know any of the people either. So I just
Yeah.
like beauty, right? I love being around it. So talk to me about those times when you and your mom would sit around and watch the pageants.
Well, first of all, let me say my mother is still a big pageant lover. Every
Oh,
time there's a
wow.
pageant on television, she calls me. We call each other. We're picking the winners. We're watching it together still. So those times when I was a little girl, I loved pageants. It didn't matter if it was Miss America, which is more of a scholarship pageant, which is the route I went. I went into scholarship pageants, not so much the traditional beauty pageants. If it was Miss USA or Miss Universe, any pageant that would come on television, we were there watching it. And what I loved about it, of course, was the glamour, right? We loved seeing the modeling and the gowns, but I loved, especially in the Miss America competition, the talents. I always was so intrigued and so excited to see the talents of the different contestants, and then to see them be so well spoken and poised at the end with that final question across the board with all pageants. It just seemed that these women that were competing were just the consummate woman. They were graceful, beautiful, stylish, talented, and intelligent. I mean, doesn't get any better than that. So I loved all of it, that it all of it that it celebrated. It celebrated womanhood and completeness. So I love that. And anytime we knew there was a pageant coming on, we crowd around the TV, rooting for our home state, of course, and just picking out any of the girls that we could see that were actually front runners. And so it's something that I enjoyed as a little girl, and it led to me, dipping my toe in the water when I was 17 and still being a pageant lover today.
Well, I remember watching those, and I remember sitting in front of the television watching them, and I would be so nervous for the women. I'm like, oh God, here's the question. Sometimes the talent would get a little boring. That's when I go get something to eat. I mean, it would get a little boring for me, the talent part. But when it came for the question, believe it or not, that was my favorite part, because I like to hear. Yes, that was always my favorite part. And I would get so nervous for them. I'm like, please. And I'm like, see, that's messed up. Y'all asked her that tough question. I would be talking to the screen and I'm like, come on, baby, you got it though. You can do it. I would be rooting for them, not knowing any of them. Because it's just that thing where women, we love to see other women win. Yeah. And I think we should do that more. So when you saw those pageants, you were like, okay, because you didn't get started till 17, your first pageant. Tell us about that pageant.
So I really got started by the encouragement of a friend. It was a pageant at my local high school. And, they did an annual pageant every spring. And one of my friends was like, you should do it. And I was like, me? I could be in a pageant? And so we started talking about it. She was like, yep, you could wear your homecoming dress. You've played piano. So I was a 20-year classical pianist. I had taken classical piano lessons since I was 8 years old. And at this time I was 17. And so she was like, yeah, you could play the piano. You could wear your homecoming dress. You could do it. And I was like, why not? I'm going to sign up for the pageant. It was free. And I did everything that my friend told me to do. I picked out, a piece to play. I played piano. I wore my homecoming dress, did everything I needed to do, interview. And at the end of the night, I got absolutely nothing. And I was devastated. I was like, how could I have not been a finalist, an award, nothing? And I like to say I have pride like a man. So after that, I said, oh, we're not going out like this again. I'm going to do this again.
Right.
And I'm
yes.
And so I got my family members, they all donated, and I got a coach. And then that second year, my senior year, I went back to my high school pageant. I was a top 6 finalist. And then after that, I was winning and finalist ever since.
So altogether, how many pageants were you in altogether?
I think a total, because I competed for 9 years. My 10th year was when I was Miss Black USA, reigned as Miss Black USA. So I think over 10 years, I was in 9 pageants. I think I averaged a pageant a year, and I think I won 6 titles out of those 9.
Wow. So. Oh my gosh, I got chills. Impressive. Oh. Now, let me ask you a question. When it came, what was your favorite part in the pageant?
I loved talent because, again, I was by the time I reigned as Miss Black USA, it had been 20 years. I was 26, 27. But when I first started, I had been playing piano for 10 to 11 years. So classical piano, being a pianist, that's something that always made me stand out. So I love to do talent because I knew that was something unique about me. There weren't a lot of girls who were classically trained pianists. So I love
I watched you. You're just, wow. I felt it. I've never been moved that way by a piano. Really. It's almost like you put more into it than just hitting keys. There has to be a connection. You must pray to that piano or something. Like she anointed it with oil or something.
I pray before every time.
What? No, I mean, you're just incredible. Incredible. I loved it. You deserve it.
Thank you so much.
Wow.
So I loved talent and on-stage question, as you were saying, on-stage question, because I love public speaking. speaking. So I felt that
And you're
those were
so
my
good
two
at it.
opportunities to shine.
You're a natural.
Oh,
Sydney, you
thank
are too. I notice. I can tell. You're the kind of
Ah,
people that if I ask you a question, like you're ready. If someone's
uh,
like, you're ready. But you know what that tells to me? This person is real. They're experienced. They're
mm,
cultured. Because when you read a lot and you're cultured, you're able to respond to anything, even if it's a tough
yeah,
question, right? Have you
true.
ever been asked a tough question, Acelia? What's
Oh, yes. The
what's the
toughest,
toughest one you've been asked?
they asked me questions. I know I had times where I was doing well in the private interview. That's what no one sees, the private panel interview that you have with the panel of judges. But the toughest questions sometimes have come in the private interviews where they were trying to stop me a little bit because I was doing so well. One time, it was such a random question. What can we do to prevent forest fires in the US? I was like, what? I was nailing
Oh,
interview. I was going, and all of a sudden they asked me about forest fires, but they did something like that try to stump me, to see if I would come up with the answer. And I came up with the answer pretty quickly, an
I
eloquent
would have said
answer.
something
And
like matches.
right,
Done.
but you have to
Get her
oh
out
say
of
it
my
here. That was
gosh.
something.
right. And
What
then
did you
I was
say? I'm curious. What did you say?
I don't remember, but I said something about educating people on fire safety and the risks that can lead to forest fires and things of that nature. I came up with something
That's
literally like
awesome.
on the top of my head,
Wow,
but I handled
that
it, even
sounds
though it
good.
was something left field. And then I was asked before if the Bible was literal or figurative. I was asked that
Mm.
in a pageant interview before, and I said actually both. There's parts of the Bible where it is illustrative. It's not actually a literal circumstance that is happening. Jesus spoke in parables, and then I said there are literal parts of Scripture as well. So, and I gave an explanation of that. So I think those two times were the two times where the questions made me go, and I had to think of something. Any other time they asked me about anything with foreign affairs and current events, those weren't difficult for me because I used to read the newspaper every morning and I watched C-SPAN, CNN, Fox News, every news channel religiously. So those questions weren't difficult. It was the kind of the questions that were off the beaten path. Those were the ones that were a little tricky.
What about you, Sydney? What was your toughest question?
Ah, that one. No, I'm just kidding. I I would have to say my top 5 question at Miss Texas because that was my first time making top 5. So, like Acelia said, it's not necessarily for me the question itself, but it's more so being able to be poised in a situation where you have no idea what they're going to ask you.
Right.
And I think because the mindset that I went in with just, you know what, this is walking and this is talking and this is something that I have been doing since I was an infant and I can do this. And there, at the end of the day, I have the knowledge that I have and the tools that God has given me, and I'm right where I need to be. And I just need to speak from my heart and show them that I am a real person and that no woman is perfect or no one is perfect for that matter. But I am able to give, a solid, authentic answer. And my question was, they were talking about with Roe v. Wade and all of those situations and how they ended up overturning it. They talked about how men have the opportunity to regulate their contribution to pregnancies as well. However, it's more focused on women. So my question was asking me, why are women the person or the people who are more focused on instead of, them focusing on the men? And I almost messed myself up because my question was so wordy, I almost
Mhm.
assumed what the question was going to be. So I'm really glad that I just decided to just wait and listen, give myself a second to process what had been asked. Because, like I said, this question was like maybe a sentence or 2 sentences long. So I think being able to do that and really just, like I said, I just spoke from my heart and I spoke with what I thought was right. And I didn't overthink it, because if you overthink it, if you think too long or if you
Right.
think too much, you're going to stumble and you're going to say things that, you're trying to say the right answer. And I think the right answer comes from speaking from your heart and speaking
Mhm.
authentically.
Oh, wow. Have either one of you been asked race questions?
I
Not
have not personally.
right. No, but I have been asked, how would I advise parents to speak to their, I think they said their junior high students or teen kids or something, preteen or teen kids about sex? How would I advise parents to talk to their preteen or teen kids about sex? I have had that question before at a state
Ooh.
pageant.
Wow.
Right. I
That
know.
was
Have you
that.
ever had to answer questions of something that maybe you didn't believe in, like you were going to go against everybody in the room, but you had to stand on what you believed in? Did you ever have a moment like that, either one of you?
I did. I
You
have. What
did.
about Sydney?
I think, like I said, a little bit, because I haven't gotten very many controversial questions with reaching that level at state. And, it was such a polarizing topic about whether, people were in favor of overturning Roe v. Wade versus not overturning Roe v. Wade. And, the demographics in the pageant community, it really varies depending on the pageant itself. But I will say, I really wasn't nervous for standing on my belief. As a woman, I believe that women should have that opportunity to speak for their body and to say what they feel is right.
Good for you. Good for you. Did you want to add to that, Acelia?
Yes, I've had controversial questions before. And I remember, I think it was the second year that I competed at Miss Black Texas. And I remember, I think it was right when President Obama had been elected. And even though I loved President Obama, I had a differing opinion on something that he did. And I'm in a room full of African Americans, full of Black people who are excited that we just got that we got our
Right.
first Black president. And I stood 10 tones down on my differing opinion about something that he had done. And it was difficult to do that in a room where most of the people do not agree with you. But that's part of pageantry.
That's
That's
right.
part of being a spokesperson for the pageant's brand, is that even if you have a controversial opinion, or maybe say it's a polarizing topic, as Sydney just talked about, being able to make a point without making an enemy. And that's something that I teach
Ah,
contestants now that I'm coaching. It's about being tactful and polite and making your point without making an enemy. You don't have to be polarizing in the way that you speak the truth. You don't have to be controversial in the way that you share your opinion. There's a way to approach these difficult topics and still be polite and not accommodating, but polite and affirming to all people in their views while standing true to yours.
now
Yeah.
that was profound. I say that she said, make a point without making an enemy.
Yeah.
Girl, I'm gonna have to take that class. Sign me up.
I love that.
It's
But
called tact.
it's very
It's,
important. It's very
it
important.
is. It is very important.
I really, the same way Acelia is saying, I think of it as a way I may think what I think, and I want people to be open to what I have to say. We're not all going to agree. We are all different walks of life. There's no
Right.
way on this earth that we would all agree, maybe sometimes, but not 100% of the time. So we have to understand that we want to give the same respect that we would want to receive. So yes, you can have differing opinions, you can have different thought processes, whatever the case is, but just extend that same respect that you would want someone to extend to you as well.
Amen. Amen. Very well said. Now, Acelia, I mean, what you did was phenomenal, obviously. But did you ever have people along your path that told you, girl, you are not going to go that far with that? They're only going to give that to the right women. They're not going. Did you hear conversations like that as you were on your path, on your journey?
I don't think I heard that directly. Maybe indirectly. I
Gotcha.
had some detractors, especially when I competed in the Miss America system. Of course, in the Miss Black USA system, I mean, hey, everyone's rooting for everyone. We're all Black women competing in that system. But when it came to the America system, when I was involved in that system, no one directly told me I didn't have a chance at it. But there were little comments that were made that made me feel that I wasn't welcomed and embraced. One of the beautiful things I love about seeing the girls that are competing in pageantry now, like Sydney, is they can wear their natural hair. When I competed in the early 2000s, leading to the early 2000 teens, wearing your natural hair was unheard of. And I remember being
Really?
at an event with other Miss Texas contestants in the Miss America organization, and it had gotten kind of humid outside, and my hair started frizzing. And my director made an insensitive comment to me. And she was like, "Can you make your hair more like this contestant?" I can't. When it's humid, it's going to curl up. Right, Sydney? I'm a Black woman.
Right.
And I mean, those were the type of responses.
Wow.
Or like in interview, when they would ask me about my role models, I had gotten feedback. Well, can you bring up women of other races and ethnicities? You're always bringing up Black women. Well, I was like, I'm a Black girl. I naturally identify with successful Black women. That's just a natural thing. I wasn't trying to play a race card or anything. That was just an
Right.
authentic representation of who I was. And that's who I wanted to speak about. Those are the women who really inspired me. So I got those type of comments, not necessarily that I couldn't make it or I couldn't win, but there were some things that were a little bit insensitive and a little bit prejudiced at times that I would be told.
What about you, Sydney? Have you ever heard anybody say, I mean, your natural hair is beautiful. Looks like
Ah,
some of the it looks like some of the wigs I bought. It looks like the one I have over there right now, actually. So yeah, have you ever heard anything like that?
Again, not necessarily straightforward. The first year that I competed for Miss Texas USA, I decided to wear my hair naturally, or not naturally. I'm sorry. I decided to wear my hair straight. And the reason for that was because I felt that it was easier to manage. We have super quick changes backstage. Some people don't understand, or they just don't know that you get about 3 to 5 minutes, depending on what stage of the competition that you're in. You only have a few minutes to touch up your makeup, to change your outfit, to change your shoes, to change your earrings, to fix your hair. And I just know for me, my hair curly is very unpredictable. And I said, you know what? I want to be able to not have to worry about that. So I did wear my hair straight, and that was actually a personal choice. But because I had decided to wear my hair straight, my headshot was actually natural. And after seeing the two within the same year, I had received a lot of comments that people were saying I looked better with straight hair, or I was more marketable with straight hair, or I would go further with straight hair. And when I wore my straight hair, it was because I made that decision, not because anybody told me I would have a better chance at winning. And so after that, I did struggle with that. I struggled with being able to keep it straight. As Acelia was saying, I competed in a local called Kima, and we did a yacht swimsuit competition, which was really cool. But we were outside, and the weather was not in favor of my natural hair. And all of us in the back were trying to figure out how we can get our hair to stay together. And so since then, I've done a lot of modeling opportunities as well. And I've just noticed that people were not careful. They were, burning my hair. They were using too much heat, and they were just not respecting, what I had worked for. And so I made the personal choice to say that I wanted to be heatless when competing. And it was difficult because, to a certain extent, it looks nothing like the hairstyles that you see on stage. So I'm thinking to myself, well, how on earth can I make this look, presentable, or how can I make this seem appropriate for a competition where it's not seen or it's not valued? And so those were challenging times. And last year when I competed, I had super long curly hair extensions, and that was a really different experience for me. And I think this year I just realized that I love my hair where it is. I'm proud of my hair where it is. I don't need to have long hair, because that is another thing, when people have long curly hair, that's different than having shorter or, medium length curly hair, or even different textures of curly hair are more accepted than other textures. And I said, you know what, this is the hair that I was born with. This is the hair that God has given me. And I actually love my hair. And why don't I just embrace that and learn to work with what I have instead of trying to fit the mold? And I wanted them to accept the mold that I was giving them.
Right. So when that happened, Acelia and Sydney, do you complain? Do you just roll with the flow? Do you just like, you know what? I'm not going to mess myself up over this. I'm going to get over this. Is that how you just kind of rationalize with it?
For me, it was. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, okay. No, I think that's how I rationalized. And now that I look back, I wish I would have said something at that time. But for me, I was like, oh, goodness. I don't want to be that girl that is like complaining over, that. And I wanted to just focus on competing. So, but now that I look back, I wish I would have said something after the competition, after everything was over, that I would have went forward excusing me about those comments and how that made me feel, so they could understand. Even if they didn't try to understand, at least I would know that I voiced myself and I made my voice heard on that particular issue.
What
I
about
agree
you,
with
Cindy?
I agree with that. I also feel that it can be a slippery slope or a kind of a lose-lose situation in some aspects, because when you are talking to someone who's not open to a different thought process, then it's really difficult to get anywhere. And I will say from my experience, someone cannot relate to you if they've never gone through what you've gone through to a certain extent. So for me, in that regards, it almost feels like I'm, you know, just talking and not really getting anywhere. And so for me, I think the best thing that I can do is I can show you better than I can tell you. And that's something that I've also told one of my really good pageant friends as well. You have to show up, and you have to show up the way that you want to show up, because at the end of the day, if you don't love you, if you're not comfortable with who you are, how do you expect the judges to do that as well? And our set of judges are different every year, and what one person may not be in favor of, another person might love. So when it comes to that, I feel like you just have to keep showing up as who you are and who you want them to accept you as, because you have to present that, the days after.
So when you don't win a pageant, I know that there's a way that you can go to the judges or whomever and you can see what they said about you, correct? Have
No,
you taken it?
Well,
You don't get to do that?
it depends on the pageant system. Miss in
Oh,
USA.
okay. So
USA.
did you take advantage of that, Acelia,
Oh
to see what they
yes.
said? Did
The
you like what they
pageants,
said?
the pageants that I could do that in, I did take advantage of it. And so it was so helpful for me to hear what the judges' feedback was, because every time I got judges' feedback, except for one time, one judge said she thought I was just trying to say the right things. I'm like, no, I was being genuine. This is who I am.
Wow.
But
Wow.
right, and so she marked me down because she thought I was just trying to say the right thing. But sometimes you just get some odd perspectives with the
Of
judges.
course,
Like
of
one
course.
time,
Take some of it, you just move on. Just
yes,
yeah,
yes. One time there
yeah.
was a judge that told me I needed to turn the piano towards the judges or something weird like that. I'm like, no, you don't perform piano that way. How weird. But anywho, I have taken advantage of getting the judges' feedback before, and most of the time it was helpful. The times that I could do it, sometimes you can't, depending on the pageant system. But the times that I could, I did, and it was very helpful in my growth.
That's
Wow.
awesome.
That is awesome. That's good. So when you have also, lost a pageant, you had to also mentally get back on the horse, so to speak. I want girls that are watching this broadcast or people in their journey that may have lost a competition, like you did after that first one, Acelia, and you thought, what, right? But there was something on the inside of you that helped you move on. There's
Mhm.
some people that have deposited certain things inside of you that helped you move on. I want you to share that with our audience, what that was for you, both of you.
Hmm. I think for me, it was holding to a vision, a dream that I had. I had a vision, I had a dream that I wanted to achieve. Early on, I think what God deposited into me was a vision on how to impact teen girls through pageantry, which is something I'm still blessed to do today. I remember waking up in the middle of the night, and God just, what I felt, He just impressed upon my heart this whole strategy that as you win pageants over different regions, you'll get access to teen girls in that region. I can go into schools and speak to those girls. I can
Yes.
develop mentoring programs. I can do conferences. And with that title in front of my name, Miss Whatever,
Right.
that's going to give me favor and
Yes.
influence to impact the lives
Yes.
of girls, which is what I was
Yes.
passionate about and still am to this day. But now it's expanded to girls and women through my business, More Than a Pretty Face. So that is something that was deposited into me, because your vision is going to determine your behavior and your habits. So if you have a vision, for example, of losing weight, that's going to determine how much you work out, how much water you drink, your rest, what you intake with your diet and everything, your vision. You have a goal of reaching this fitness goal. So then that's going to determine your habits and your behaviors every day. So because I had this vision that I was going to get access to influence more lives with these pageant competitions and these titles I would hold, that was my vision. So that determined me not giving up. That
Amen.
determined me persevering. That determined
Yes.
that I would get better and better and better and develop myself. So
Yeah.
that was the thing. I think the biggest thing that was deposited into me was a vision that God gave me. And that gave me the will to do what was necessary to see it completed.
Oh, I love that. That's profound. I love it. Now, Sydney, I want you to answer that question also, but then we have a viewer question. So tell me what deposited, because you have a lot of people around you that support you, like your
Yeah.
mom is
Yeah,
just,
my mom, she's the reason I got into pageantry.
she's the
And
best. She is.
she definitely is, and I'm very grateful for her. I will say mentally this year preparing was one of the most challenging. Okay, I'll take that back. I take that back. No, it wasn't. I'm talking as I'm thinking through it. I'm like, wait a minute. No, it wasn't. It was challenging, but not one of the most challenging years. I will say, I think last year was one of the most challenging for me. But this year, I felt that my mom supported me more than she has during any competition. My mom is very involved in my life and very hands on if I want her to be. She is not one of those people who push me because I'm very self motivated. I'm very self driven. I don't need it. But this year in particular, I just felt like, I don't know, almost like I was losing my drive. I was losing my passion. And I will say there was a few times that she gave me a pep talk. She picked me up, and there were days that I just said, I don't feel like going to the gym. And she was like, just go, you'll feel better. I go and I feel better. And she knows that. I know that. But it was just funny to me because this year she was very hands-on, and she was just always there for me whenever I needed anything, whatever support I needed, whatever errands I needed help with, whatever, she was there. And so I really feel like, not only doing it for me, but to make her proud as well, because she loves to see me in action, whether I'm playing sports, I'm, doing dance, I'm doing school, or I'm doing pageants, whatever it is. She just loves to see me out there, making waves and having a great time. So having that support is so very important, and it definitely helps you keep going.
Well, you are fire on the stage. Like you turn into this whole different person. I'm like, wow. I'm talking Miss America. Like go all the way. Like, right? Like I'm ready to get my ticket now because I know that's where you're gonna end up. But we have a question on the table, ladies.
Yeah,
How
let's get to
did
it.
you all stay grounded and focused?
I think it was a few things for me to stay grounded and focused. I think, first of all, it was my faith, because I really developed my relationship with God when I was
Yeah.
in college. As I shared earlier, I got saved at 16, but it really became personal to me on a deeper level as a college student, as a young adult going through college. Having that time of prayer, having that daily time. That's where I learned how to study the word when I was in college. I studied scripture every day when I was in college. I taught Bible studies. I launched my platform at the time. So More Than a Pretty Face is my platform from my pageant days. More Than a Pretty Face was my girls empowerment program as a pageant queen. And it's now my company. And
That's awesome.
early on, I started it and it was a ministry. I didn't realize I was starting a ministry. I was hosting these conferences for girls. I was doing workshops for young ladies. I had launched this website, all this great stuff. And that came out of my love for God and developing that relationship with Him. And He led me and gave me the vision to impact the lives of girls. And that actually leads to the second thing that helped me to stay focused and grounded, because as a pageant contestant, you're in the community, and being able to touch the lives of young people, touch the lives of teen girls, being consistently in the community with various causes, that kept me grounded. Pageantry is not about you're not spending your week or year, I'll say, when you reign, doing fashion shows and being with the most elite people all the time. That's not what you're doing. Yes, you'll get to go to a few banquets and you'll maybe do a fashion show or two, but the bulk of the year you're a public speaker and you're in the community serving. You're at different causes, events, fundraisers. You may be at a Susan G. Komen walk. There's a number of different community events that you have to participate in. So just by virtue of what you're involved in during your year as a pageant queen, that will keep you grounded. Just being with the people of the community and touching lives. So I would say those two things definitely kept me grounded and focused. Besides me saying earlier, just my vision and what I wanted to achieve. That all of that tremendously helped me with keeping my focus.
You know what I love about you, Acelia? When you speak, there's a spirit that comes
Hmm.
through, and you seem like one of the most disciplined people. Like you're very
Wow.
disciplined. Yeah. It's almost like God gave you a map. Because last week on my show, I talked about the puzzle. I talked about on the front of the box, everyone is given their own box. You know how we get the puzzles back in the day
Hmm.
where you
Yes.
see that what it looks like on the front, but when you open up the box, there's a lot of jumbled pieces. They're not put together. And I feel like you were one of those people that took that box and stayed focused on that picture. And you didn't
Mm.
quit until you got what you saw and what he said. And I love that about you. And I think you're the right person mentoring our young people. I really do. I wish I could have met somebody like you when I was 16 out there dropping it like it's hot. Just saying. She might have put me back in the pageant, maybe, because I quit the
Her,
pageant.
somebody get
You can
her.
do it. You
What?
can do it.
Oh my
What? Oh no,
god.
no, no, not anymore, not anymore.
There's pageants
But
for
listen,
all demographics and ages, just so you know. Wink, wink, hint, hint. I'm a coach.
uh,
I can
uh,
find a pageant for you.
okay.
Telling you.
I don't know. Get her, Sydney. You got to tell her your cousin. She's
She
crazy.
said she's not interested.
Yes, I would
She's
listen.
a lot.
I would definitely be there to support anyone else. I would go, but getting up on that stage that takes a lot, and you guys definitely have it. You have it because a lot of people see it and they don't know what goes on behind the scenes, right? The hard work, the
Absolutely.
stuff you have to give up to be able to do it. Tell us a little bit about that preparation for these contests. What do you have to give up? What do you have to do to prepare for these pageants?
I know for me, I will say this year in particular, I tried to avoid harsh cutoffs. In years past, I would say, okay, this is a list of things I'm not eating. But when you grow and as you get older and you know yourself, I know my body, and I hate to say it, I am one of those people. I can eat what I want to eat, I'm still okay. And I know that. So I really just tried to focus on being the healthiest and happiest version of myself. For example, a lot of girls or women, young women, were commenting on my social media because I post almost everything that I eat. And the reason that I do that is because I want to show people that you do not have to skip meals. You do not have to go on crazy restrictive diets. But for me, it's always about balance. It's so important to have balance. Like, for example, I was eating Cheeto Puffs before Miss Texas USA. Two,
What?
3 weeks. I
Wow.
promise you. I promise you. And because I was portion
That's funny.
controlling what I was eating, I didn't have any guilt about eating it. Like, for example, I would fix a nice turkey and cheese wrap, and then I would have a fruit, and then I would have Cheeto Puffs. But instead of having a serving size, I would have half of a serving size. And so I really talked and I used my platform on social media to talk about how you can eat what you want. You just can't eat the whole bag in one sitting, or you can't eat the whole container of ice cream in one
That's
sitting.
right. That's
So
right.
for me, it was about encouraging and showing people how to consume in a healthy fashion, in a healthy way, but also still being able to, fall into those temptations. There was times I had fast food, I had McDonald's, I had ice cream, but like I said, at the same time, these are things that I'm having every now and then. So it's
Mhm.
okay to do, and it's okay, to consume in that capacity, if you will. But that's one thing I will say. I did not focus on very strict diets, but I will say I was working out every day, or we all thought that. I was not working out. I was working out every day, sometimes twice a day. So I will say that was something I was very, very strict about for the most part, because believe it or not, swimsuit was an insecurity for me. And, I
Hmm.
know that sometimes that's where I fall short in the competition because I don't portray that same confidence that I do in evening gowns. So I wanted the most fit version of myself so that I don't have to get on stage and say, oh my gosh, like it's my time. I wanted to say, oh my gosh, like it's my time. So, making little tweaks here and there and knowing what your strengths and your weaknesses are so very important to being successful.
Oh, yes, so true.
Wow.
Well, for me, I was the complete opposite of Sydney. Sydney is so profound. I was not that profound at that time. I was like, okay, I was cutting out all sweets, bread, a lot of sugar. I wasn't indulging at all. And what I also gave up, that wasn't even the hardest part. The most difficult thing to give up for me was a lot of free time and sleep. Like I slept. I'm not team no sleep, but I had to get up earlier. Like I was saying earlier, I would read the newspaper in the mornings. Early in my pageant career, I was in college and I was an RA at my dorm. And I would wait. I would go and work the front desk early in the mornings, and I would wait for the newsman to drop the paper every morning. And so as soon as the newspapers were dropped at the front of the dorm, I would run and I would get Dallas Morning News, USA Today, and I would take notes, copious notes on national, international, and statewide affairs. And so I lost sleep because I purposely would choose the morning times to work the front desk just so I could go bright and early and get that newspaper and take notes before I had class. Also, just like I was saying, so much news that I was watching, reading Time magazine. I would just devour anything happening in current events and culture. I not lost a lot of time, but I invested a lot of time in my talent performances. I was a music major in undergrad, but I studied not only for my music classes, but then I had to spend hours in the evening practicing my talent. And so there was a lot of time that was just spent overall money. You have to make sacrifices financially. You have to work to fundraise. I fundraised a lot because I didn't come from a lot of money. So I did a ton of fundraising to afford everything for the competition, working with coaches. So yes, that was the biggest thing I had to sacrifice, some sleep and free time to dedicate myself to the goal.
Now, you brought up something interesting. You said money, because a lot of girls have this dream, but they stop when they start saying how much it's going to cost. That we lose a lot of girls right there. We're like, oh, okay, well then I'll holler, I'm out. How do we get over that hump? As someone that's watching this that wants to get involved in this, how do we get over the money hump?
It's so intimidating. I will say I've experienced it firsthand. And when I started finding out, because when you're new and you don't know anything, there's nothing to compare it to. But when I really, sunk my teeth into the pageant community and I started finding out on average, well, not on average, but some girls were spending upwards of $10,000 on one gown. I lost it. And I said, oh, I'll never win, because even if I had $10,000, I wouldn't spend it on.
What? Oh my gosh.
And believe it or not, I said, you know what? It's all psychological. It's psychological. It's so psychological, because there are people that you talk to and they think that the more money they spend, they think that they have a better chance. But this year I took a step back and I said, you know what? I don't have the same financial opportunities as some of these other girls. And that's okay. I'm still a strong competitor. I'm still a strong contender.
Right.
And
That's right.
my gown for Miss Texas USA this year, when I got first runner up, cost me $162. It was $162. And I can almost bet that the girl who won Miss Texas USA this year, her gown was more than $10,000. And when I started seeing the other girls, I know for a fact there was another girl in top 5. Her gown was $10,000, because I was looking at that gown. I didn't realize how much it cost. So I actually knew how much her gown cost. And I thought to myself, wow, that is crazy. I'm standing up here in a $162 dress.
Yes.
Very highly with people who have spent $5,000 or more on a gown for one portion of the competition. And I really did that as to make a mark, to show people that it's yes, you do have to spend money. For example, I will say this year, I feel that I spent money on tailoring. I decided to buy clothing items that were more affordable to me, but I decided to tailor them to make them look better than what they were. And that's something that was an approach that I took that worked for me. But I had to make that statement and let them know that it's not the gown that makes you. It's your
Right.
aura, it's your presence, it's your energy that will make the judges be drawn and love to you. So I really did that to make a statement and just let people know that, the finances, yes, they are a part of it, but at the same time, you have to understand that if you are true and authentic to who you are, the judges can look past that.
Oh, wow. How do this is the thing I don't get. If they're spending this type of money, how would the judges know how much you spent? Who are you trying to impress? Like,
Well,
that's the
sometimes
thing
you can tell. Sometimes you can really just tell. There's
really,
girls on stage that have Louis Vuitton, red bottoms. They've got Gucci belts, Louis Vuitton bags. So there are people who really just push designer, and you can go look it up, and you could go look and see how much it costs online. So
Right.
there are little ways that or they have Fendi earrings or Chanel earrings, Chanel bags.
oh
So
wow.
there's it gets really crazy. So there's little ways that you can just tell the people that
But you don't get intimidated by that, though. I know
I
you get
I
intimidated.
personally don't. I was always brought up to be comfortable and confident with whatever I have on, and clothes, bags, belts, shoes, jewelry has never made me. And I will say, like, I'm surprised that I have earrings on now. I don't even wear jewelry. I'm not a big jewelry person. It's not my thing. I'm super plain Jane. If you know my mom, she doesn't wear makeup. She will wear jewelry. But Miss Ellie, my mama.
Yeah,
But
I
I'm
do.
super, super plain Jane. So wearing makeup, doing my hair, wearing jewelry for me sometimes is I gotta, get myself ready to do it. But I also have learned that you do want to look the part as well. One of my friends, she's like, "Well, I don't wear makeup," and I'm like, "I don't either." But when you're competing against women who are so polished, they're so talented,
Yeah.
they're so
Stepping
beautiful.
up.
You
Yeah,
have to look the part. That doesn't mean you have to spend a crazy amount of money, but you need to do your
Right.
part.
that's right. Did you wanted to add something to that, Acelia, about the money?
Oh, wow. With the fundraising, this is how I think of it. It's about how you can make it happen, not stopping and saying, okay, I can't do this because I don't have the money. My mindset when I was competing was always like, okay, how do I find the money to help me to supplement the cost of doing this? So that's a key concept for anything you're doing. It's not so much you
That's right.
can't do things. How can we make it work for us? And I love how Sydney was talking about how she used a less expensive gown that still looked great on her, that she really prioritized tailoring. Yes, yes, amen to everything Sydney is saying. Because I tell my clients the same thing. Getting a tailor, getting something that looks great on you, that fits you, that complements your skin tone, that's a great style for your body type. All of those things will help to accentuate who you are. Because it's not about who has the most expensive gown. It's not who has the most bling on their gown. It's the girl, the
Yep.
overall look and the overall presentation of that young woman when she gets on the stage. It's everything together. It's not just having the fanciest gown on stage. So everything that Sydney is saying is so true. And yes, you do have to spend money in pageantry. You just have to get creative on how
Yeah,
you're able to afford the
Yes.
things that you need to afford
that's
to be
right.
your best when you get into the competition.
Our
I would
point
add
is
on
you
to
don't let
that.
anything stop you, is
I
all.
would like to add on to that as well. And I feel that prioritizing what you really need, or what you really want to spend some more money on, versus areas where you say, you know what, I can scale back. This is not as important.
Right.
So being able to decipher between, okay, this
That's a
is
good
my
point.
competition wardrobe. These are
Yeah,
the things that I have to have. Or, instead of like my rehearsals outfits, yes, they need to look, together, but I don't need to spend as much money as I would spend on my competition wardrobe.
that's right. Now, I there are a lot of things other than looking the part
Mhm.
uh, that go into pageantry and just the
Mhm.
overall appearance. But I was thinking about something. I said, there again, I like these quotes. And one of my favorites is your attitude is like a flat tire. You have to change it or you can't go any further.
Mm,
Does that apply to pageantry?
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we have some of us that are like, I'm not doing all that. I'm not doing all that. No, if I got to do all that, I'll just stay at the house.
I will say, I feel that was my attitude when I competed for Miss Texas USA the first time.
Mm.
So I'm brand new. I sign up. By the time I get you confirmed to participate, it's about a month and a half prior to the start of the competition. I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't even have a car. I have no way of running errands or getting around. So it was just a very crazy situation, if you can imagine. So I'm thinking I'm just going to get my hair done. I'm going to pay for somebody to do my makeup and I'll be fine.
Oh.
No, I go read the handbook. I read the handbook. And at the time, Texas did not allow for outside hair and makeup. Once you check into the competition, you're on your own. What I did not know was that girls were getting their hair and makeup done professionally prior to check-in and then kind of just sleeping in it and touching it up. I didn't know that. So when I found out that I would be responsible for my own makeup, I said, "Oh no, I'm done. I don't work. I don't know how to do that. I'm done." I was like, "There's no way." And so, like Acelia said, I budgeted and I actually turned to YouTube for a lot of makeup tutorials. But I was always extremely insecure about my makeup application abilities. And when I arrived at Miss Texas, I had no makeup on. And the girls were just shocked. But my thing was, I thought I still looked great, but I did end up putting on makeup for the competition, but I didn't understand the differences in makeup. For example, stage makeup, the lights are so bright and it just washes everything away. So what I thought was a lot of makeup, it looked like I had nothing on stage. So I will say my mindset and my attitude about not wanting to learn how to do makeup really prevented me from being successful years following in my makeup application skills.
Wow.
I will say last week, I just began feeling confident in my ability to put myself together with makeup and hair together. And I'm just like, that's awesome. I think every woman should be able to feel confident in putting themselves together. Yes, I love getting glammed by other people, but you have to understand that sometimes those people won't always be there.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. And you
Knowing
got to
how
be able to move quickly.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Acelia, tell me a time where attitude was like a flat tire and you had to change it before you could go any further. What was your moment?
Ooh.
Or if you know of other people with those kinds of moments.
I think for me, there's a couple of instances that come to mind. I think one time that I had to change my attitude was the second time that I competed actually in the Miss Black Texas competition. Because I competed in Miss Black Texas USA 3 times before I won. I was second runner-up 2 times in a row. And the second time that I was second runner-up, I remember being just distraught. And I lost to a girl who is actually my friend now, Zakia. She actually won that year. And we're like the best of friends. Like we were in each other's weddings, everything. But at that time, I didn't like her. But
I
I
bet.
lost to her. And
Like, girl.
I was just so upset. And I just couldn't get why the judges didn't see what I wanted them to see in me. And I had to adjust my attitude because I had a good friend that told me, she was at the pageant and she said, "You did well. It's not like you didn't do well. You did well. She was just better." And
Ouch.
I know, that was so hard. And she told me what about Zakia's performance stood out above mine. Or her presentation, because you don't really perform, it's more of a presentation.
Right.
What about her presentation stood out above mine? And I had to change my attitude and take the constructive criticism she was giving me, because she wasn't trying to be rude. She was like, "Look, here's what's going on. This is what happened. Here's how you can get better. This is how this girl stood out more than you did." And I had to change and adjust my attitude and take in what she was saying and build upon that critique that she gave me so I could come back next year and be even stronger. Because as I was talking about earlier, my vision was the vision that God gave me when I was 19 is I would win a national title. And the 2 titles that attracted me was Miss America and Miss Black USA. I felt that I could fit in one of those. And, I did the Miss America program for a year and I was like, okay, this isn't what I thought it was. I think it's a great program for young women, but it wasn't what I was looking for. And so I was like, okay, let me try the Miss Black USA route. And so that's eventually where I found success. But I knew that was my goal, to get to that national title. And the hurdle was winning my state title. And so I had to take that and adjust my attitude, because if this is my vision, I have to do what is necessary to see it to come to pass.
Ooh, I love what you're saying, and what just brought to mind. I have some guests that are watching from Liberia, and of course, anybody that knows me knows I love Africa. I love that whole concept. But one thing I learned about poise and posture is that it basically started in Africa, right, Acelia? With the
Yes,
women putting the buckets on their head. Because when
the
I
head
watch that,
carrying.
yes, I look at that and I'm like, I could do that. I bet you I could do that. So I tried it one day. I
It's harder
cannot do
than
that.
than it
Yeah,
looks.
I
Yeah,
cannot.
it's very
Yeah.
challenging.
So tell us about that, because I don't think a lot of people know that that's where our heritage comes from for poise, from these African women. Kind of go into that a little
Absolutely.
bit more. Yeah.
Absolutely. So much of etiquette is derived from Africa, from the continent of
Yeah.
Africa. And, I'm very fortunate that I'm a certified etiquette consultant with the National Association of Urban Etiquette Professionals, which really equipped me and helped me to understand where the essence of etiquette came from. But the practice of head carrying, the African practice of head carrying, that's where you see it's been mimicked in European nations. So when you think of the book on the head exercise, that was
Uh-huh.
actually mimicked from the motherland, the head
Mm,
carrying, because the basket
okay.
head carrying practice, it's very difficult to do. It's much easier. So when the imitation came along, it's much easier to do a book than to actually do the head carrying that originated from the motherland. But our people, when you look at our history, we've always had a way of taking these tasks that we had to do, the homemaking, the going
Yeah.
out to get the water and the food for the children. We always had a way of doing those tasks and doing it with elegance and grace. Even when you
Mm,
see it today, when you look at the motherland, the head carrying, and the women taking the scarves and wrapping them around their waist, and the head wraps, we've always had a way of doing things with such grace and such beauty and poise.
yeah.
So a lot of times we think etiquette is purely European, and that was the essence of it, and that's where it
Hmm.
originated, but that's not true. So many of the practices that we learn in traditional etiquette come from the motherland, and it comes from Africa. And that's just one example of the things that we have gotten from our culture, from the original motherland.
And when you see them do it, it's like it's effortless. And
Yes,
I'm like,
yes,
did they start as young girls? Like, when did
they
they
do.
start that?
I can say
Now,
specifically for Kenya, I know they start as young girls with the head carrying,
yeah.
because when I went to Kenya on a mission trip years ago, the ladies in the village were trying to teach me how to do it, and I was having a hard time at first. And I finally got it. It's really difficult, and it takes some strength in your neck. It's a certain way that you hold your neck up to be able to.
Oh, okay. It's
Yes,
all in the
and
neck.
the
Okay.
teen girls were able to show me. The little preteen and teen girls were able to help me. So that it starts young.
Wow.
Yeah, it does.
So I, I think that's good. There's another thing too I was thinking about. I said, when we um, talk about these types of things, pageantry and everything, we think about all the great things. You have to have poise, you have to have presence, posture, and all this stuff. But I want to make it a little more real now, because we
Okay.
watch social media and we see a lot of young girls and we see what's out there. We're just
Hmm.
going to keep it real, right? And we see our girls behaving in ways, and I know you probably address a lot of this in your classes, Acelia. But one
Hmm.
of the things that was very controversial among social media was about the bonnet, wearing the bonnet in public, and wearing slippers in public, pajamas in public. Now I know you guys are beauty queens, but let's go back to some real stuff.
Okay.
Talk to me about that, because everybody has their opinion about the bonnets and the slippers and the pajamas and all that. Talk to me.
Well, my opinion primarily comes from how I was raised, and then as an etiquette consultant, is
Yeah.
that one of the rules of etiquette is you want to look at the intention of a product. What was the intended use of something? So for
Right.
instance, in dining etiquette, you don't take your fork and put it against the glass to get people's attention. That's not the intended use of the fork. The fork is to eat. So you don't want to use things in a way that is not intended. when we look at our grooming and as we, go outside, house shoes, the operative word in there is house. They're not
Right.
made for outdoors. They're not made. House shoes are actually made for indoors. As a matter of fact, if you wear typical house shoes outside too much, you're going to wear them down. There's going to be
Right.
more hair on them because they're not designed for outdoor use. You have other shoes, tennis shoes, heels, other things that are designed for outdoor use. When it comes to the bonnet, primarily when you look at the intended use of that, it is to protect the hair, but from what I understand, is intended for bedtime, to protect the hair at bedtime. So for me, I believe you should, because I am an etiquette consultant, look at the intended use of products to help you navigate how to use them. And you won't make some of these what we call etiquette faux pas, where you're not presenting your best self, because visual presentation is important. 93% of our communication is nonverbal. It's not what comes out of our mouth. It's how we
Right.
say it and then how we look, our body language,
Yes.
things of that nature.
Yes. Yes.
So if you want to give the best presentation of yourself, remember that the majority of your communication and what you communicate by yourself is how you present yourself.
Very good answer. Sydney.
I will say, don't beat me up, but I will say I have a funny story. Well,
Go
I think it's
ahead.
funny now. So the first year I competed for Texas, I wore my hair straight, as I mentioned. And when you're coming into orientation, you have all of your luggage, you're trying to get everything together, you're trying to, if you know me, I'm moving in. Wherever it is, I'm moving in. So I have far more things than I need. And the humidity in Texas is through the roof. So
Yes.
I said, you know what? I had my hair wrapped up. I had a bonnet on. I had no makeup on. And I actually did not even have heels on because I did not know that the girls come to slay during check-in. I had no idea. So everybody is not paying me any mind. Nobody paid me any mind until preliminary competition when I made top 15 as well. And then they're like, oh, she has competition. But honestly, I
Wow.
really did. I didn't know, but I will say I agree with us with what Acelia is saying. Also, for me, I will say it kind of just depends on the environment that I'm in. If I'm in a more
Mm.
relaxed environment, and knowing when things are appropriate and when it's not appropriate to me is very important as well.
So is it easier, like if someone saw
What
you
was it?
in that capacity, they see you with the bonnet on, and now 2 hours later you're all dolled up, and now you're talking about the
Yeah,
climate or you're talking about something important. How serious can they take you? They're like, wait a minute, weren't you just the girl with the bonnet on? Or does it matter? Should they
Oh,
not
I
consider
mean,
that at all?
that's a good
for me,
question.
I think it's funny. I think in the duality of it, it's important to me to show the authenticity. I joke about it to this day with some of the girls that I've competed. They bring it up all the time, and I think it doesn't bother me because I thought it was funny. It was a teaching moment. It was a learning experience for me, but also I think it's important to understand that that didn't prevent me from placing where I placed. I outplaced other people that didn't think that I had anything to offer.
That's important. That's true. In other words, you were saying, listen, it's a good thing, and you used it to say, well, I was that, but that had nothing to do with what was in here, and
Yeah,
I proved it. Yeah,
yeah.
I hear you.
That was
Did
it
you
was
want
a non-judged judged part of the competition. If that
It's a
makes
great
sense.
way to put it. It's the
Yeah.
judges
yeah,
are not there to judge you, but people are judging you.
but people,
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
thing they weren't judging, right? The competition. But I mean, but what about these girls that compete? Does social media matter? Like, do judges look at that? Because I know when I worked as an intern at a news station, whenever someone was arrested, the first thing the interns had to do was go look at their social media because we're trying to bring out the dirt. I mean, I was taught that's what we had to do. And how important is social media for people that are competing in these pageants?
Yes, I think it definitely depends on the system, but I think more and more systems are really more getting more into social media branding because they're
Yeah.
seeing the potential impact of an
Yep.
exposure for their brand as a pageant organization. So when I work with my clients, I help them to be strategic with their social media and their overall online branding. Because yes, there are some judges in certain pageants that find out they're judging and they look at the contestants. And that's the first thing they're judging you on, not when you walk into the interview room. It used to be all you
Oh,
had
wow.
was walked into the interview room, and that's the first impression. but now the judges may be looking you up ahead of time. So I think it
Ooh.
is important. And in some pageants, social media is actually a percentage of the actual score for the pageant. Yes,
Really?
there are pageant systems because I work with contestants in so many systems. There are systems where they actually have social media as a scored part of competition. And they're looking at their consistency, they're looking at how much they're promoting the pageant, they're promoting their platform, the professionalism. So it all matters. I think all of these things matter when it comes to your presentation, when it comes to a pageant, because you just never know. You never know. There's no way that you can know if a judge sees you in the hallway or in the elevator or if they're looking you up online or not. So just to be your best overall, but social media is becoming a part that is more and more important nowadays.
So true. I agree. And I think we downplay it, but we shouldn't because, like you said, it's effective. So they want to see how effective or non effective you're being and how you could be. So whenever you're in these competitions, ladies, and you have to present yourselves to the judges, what are you more concerned about what they think? Do you ever really think about, do they like the answer? Like once something's happened in the pageant, are you ready to move on? Are you still thinking, oh man, I should have said that? Or do you even have time to do that in the pageant? Like you have to move to the next thing. Or are you thinking, dang, I shouldn't have said that that way? Or I should have used this example. I knew that. Why, do you ever second guess yourself or do any of those kinds of things in the pageant?
I don't think I had time to do that. I think it would only come at the end of the pageant.
Right. When you're trying
While
to
you're
think
in the middle
everything
of
through.
it,
Yeah.
yes, you do all of this work, and the actual competition is so fast paced. It
Sure.
goes
Yeah.
by incredibly fast. I mean, you've spent a year or months to prepare, and then in just 2 hours' time or 3 hours' time, depending on the pageant, it's like over. It's now time to just execute, and then it's done. So in the middle of it, I'm just moving on to the next part of competition, and then afterwards, I'm able to reflect and I'm able to process and think through my performance and what I delivered.
Wow. What about you, Sydney?
I agree. Yes and no. Like I said, each competition that I've done has been a completely different experience. And there are some that I loved what I did and I didn't overthink it. And that was something that I strive to do and just be in the moment. Or, there were other competitions where I said, ooh, you go back and you watch, you said, what was I thinking? There have been a lot of times where I take a step back and when you finally, because sometimes it has taken courage to go back and watch
Yeah.
what it is that you presented to everyone else and the horror. Sometimes you're just thinking, there's no way. There's no way
Yeah,
I actually.
you have a lot of honest people around you, Sydney. Has anyone ever said, girl, why did you say that? Because I know your auntie, Toshi. I know she is like, now, Sydney, has she
I will
ever said,
say,
That's funny.
Tosha and I, that is my angel. I love her so much. She is just my rock. We are on another
you remind
level.
me so much of her. You are
That
just,
that's literally,
yeah.
she's my heaven on earth. I love her. Like she's just the most amazing person. But I will say normally because she hasn't been to every competition that I've done and I've grown a lot. And so usually she doesn't have anything negative to say. Typically it's very positive. She's like, I love you, you're perfect. And I'm like, Auntie,
Aw,
no, I'm not. I'm not.
aw, I love it. Well,
She
listen,
actually
guys.
told me, yeah,
No,
the
go
last
ahead.
sorry, the last time I was in Alabama a couple of weeks ago, she told me, she was like, stop being so hard on yourself. So hearing that
Aw.
hearing that from her, it was definitely very warming.
You have to have people like that in your life because they keep you
Yeah.
grounded. They really do. Well, I have the clip. I pulled it from when you won Miss Black USA. I want you guys to take a look. Let's go over
Okay.
here and get this thing going. How do I get over here to watch it? Okay, here we go.
Are you ready? Miss Black USA 2011, are you ready? Our next Miss Black USA 2011 is from the great state of Texas.
Oh my gosh.
Acelia Gibson, you are time has come.
That crown is huge.
Put your hands together as she prepares for her first walk across the stage as Miss Black USA. Take your walk, Acelia.
I love that. I have a question
Okay, go ahead.
because it's a little different. So I was confused. You kind of came from the back.
Yes. So at Miss Black USA, you have your top 15, and then from there they announce fourth, third, second, and first runner-up. So yes,
What?
you don't know because everyone does.
Oh
On-stage
my
questions.
gosh.
So it doesn't go.
So you said everybody.
All 15, all top 15 do on-stage questions. You do all top 15 do everything all over again except for interview. And so it doesn't go down from 15 to 10 to 5. So it could be anyone. While you're standing there out of the 11 that are left in the top 15, it could be any of you.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. I'm sure your heart just exploded because like you had no idea. Or did you think like you had it in the bag?
So if I'm honest, I thought, okay, I think I have this. But you never know in pageantry. Yeah. Sometimes you're thrown a curveball, but I was like, okay, the judges, they seem like, they were really good judges. I was like, I think I could win. I think it could be me. But I didn't know for sure. You never know. But yeah.
You never know. You never know.
That was $106?
Yeah. It's really cool. So what I did, I found this dress and let me back up a little bit. So I had actually bought another dress that had you couldn't return it. But I paid an extra, $50 to say, oh, I can return it. And I was like, this is crazy. I should be able to return the dress. So when I received the dress, it was actually messed up on the back. And I also did not love the color like I thought I would. So I'm emailing the people. I said, oh, this dress is defective. Can I get my full refund?
Yes.
And they were actually kind enough. They gave me the full refund plus the extra $50. So that was awesome. And then I am just struggling to figure out which direction I want to go with the gown. And I'm just honestly looking online at random websites and seeing what I can find. And I stumbled across this little online boutique store and I saw the dress and I was like, I love this. Like I love short sleeves. And it had a cutout in the back, but I wanted to open it all the way up. So I opened it all the way up. I had it tailored to me. And I actually also switched the buttons out of the collar. They had gold. They had these cheap gold looking buttons and they were so distracting. Yeah, it was so distracting. So I went to Hobby Lobby and I had the tailor just switch the buttons out for more of one of the neutral tones in the gown.
Wow.
And I was so surprised. Like I was scared because I didn't know how it would measure up next to the really, really expensive gown.
Right.
But when I talked to some people, they really said they couldn't tell. I think I can because I bought it. I know how much it cost.
It looks fabulous. Fabulous.
Thank you.
So let's watch as Sydney wins. First runner-up.
About to be the next Miss Texas USA 2022. A chance to compete for Miss USA and hopefully bring the 10th Miss USA from Texas. The first runner-up is so important because if for any reason the name Miss Texas USA cannot fulfill her duties, the first runner-up will of course take over. Okay, it's time, Texas. Someone's life is about to change. The first runner-up to Miss Texas USA 2022 is A-Shout!
That's just me walking all the way backstage. That was so awkward.
Oh wow. Why did they have you walking back and not walk like
Because they didn't want to interrupt. So when the winner, and that's why it was a little awkward because we didn't actually practice that part. We practiced how top 5, as they're called.
yeah.
So when I got called first runner up, you can't walk in front of her, but you also can't
Right.
really walk behind her because there's not enough space and the girls are trying to put her sash and crown on. So I had to go down through the crowd and then I had to walk behind the whatever you call it, I don't even know what to call it, like the poles and everything. So you can't see the back. I don't know. The curtains. Sorry, I'm like drawing a blank. So I had to walk behind all that. And I promise you guys, I swear, I almost tripped and ate the carpet. But luckily, obviously nobody was paying attention to me at that point. But it was pretty funny. So I had to go all the way around, go back up the back stairs, and then come back on stage where the rest of top 5 was.
Oh wow. When they were announcing, I mean, there had to be a moment because I know for me, when I was watching that, I was like, she's gonna do it. She's gonna do it. And when she said I wasn't disappointed because I'm proud of you, but I wanted you to win, And I'm like, you're like, well, duh, I did too. But what did you feel like in that moment? Did you feel like, okay, I'm ready to go get something to eat? Or wow. I mean, what were you thinking in that moment when they called you for the first runner-up position?
I was a little shocked. That's why I don't know if you guys can see my face for a second because it gets confusing. I'm like, okay, they called my name, so I got first runner up. You know what I mean? So sometimes you just take a second there and say, okay, now I need to be exiting the stage. And also the people around you are so helpful. So they help guide you off stage. But, in the moment, I was a little bummed. I felt like it was my moment. I had made it that far. But also in the same breath, I was so proud of myself. It was sheer bliss because that was my first time being in top 5. And I just plowed all the way through. And, I felt there was a lot of negativity actually leading up to actually before the competition. There was a lot of negativity and I really just dismissed it. And I was very far removed from it. So just being able to go out there and show them what I have to offer was it was absolutely amazing to be in that position.
So what was the negativity that was surrounding the competition?
Just about like, the girl who won, or that's so rude. I'm calling her the girl, Miss Texas USA. The current Miss Texas USA.
Girl, just saying how you feel. That's what they always tell the show is.
No.
The girl. I know.
Stunning. She's very she's very talented.
Yeah.
She's stunning. But she was predicted to win by a lot of pageant pages, and I'm not sure if everyone is current with that. There's a lot of prediction lists and favorite list out there on social media, and some girls actually turn off their social media the week leading up and during the competition. Right. But I genuinely felt in the mental space to be able to accept whatever it was that I saw. And, I was not on anybody's top 5, top 6 list. I wasn't on anybody's favorites list. And I said, I don't care. Y'all aren't judging the competition. They're judging what they see on social media.
Yes.
So I am very proud of the mental space that I was in. And I really just played it to the left. And I said, you know what? This year was an experimental year for me. I did go natural, but I didn't have long extensions. This is my natural hair. I took some risk. I wore my hair up the whole competition. I wore my hair naturally curly. I just did what I felt was right. And I think for me, it was another statement saying that at the end of the day, this is what I wanted to present and this is who I want you to perceive me as. And I did just that. So I felt that I won. I felt that I won because I accomplished what I set out to accomplish. And I don't know if you guys could tell from that video, I just could not stop laughing. Not only from that video, but there's several other videos that my mom captured of me and I'm just laughing. I'm dancing on stage. There was actually one moment where we just finished top 15 and we're waiting for the judges to come back to announce top 5. So I'm a dancer. I love to dance. I love to move. Also, I feel that it's too stressful to just stand there.
Right.
It's stressful. So I just started dancing. They're playing music. I'm dancing. The crowd is like, kind of into it. And there was a girl who told me to stop. Like she straight up told me to stop dancing. And I was like, why? And I was like, why? And she was like, I guess basically saying I was being unprofessional, if you will. So, but my thing was I was so unapologetically Sydney Leonard, and I just loved who I was, and I wanted to bring that positive energy with whoever was willing to accept that. And there were a lot of girls that were open and willing to accept that and joined in dancing and giggling and laughing with
Good
me.
for
But
you.
there were also girls that didn't want to partake in that. And you really can't take offense to it because everyone zones in differently. And
Right.
for me, it's vibing and having a good time and enjoying the experience, because at the end of the day, only one girl can win.
That's
And
right.
if you think about it, if you just sit there and you're all stern and just, I don't even know what you would call that, the entire competition, like, how are you gaining anything out of this? How are you building relationships and being able to network with other people? And for me, it's
That's
really
right.
important to show
Yeah.
the duality that I can connect with other people while being serious at the same time.
Right.
And I
Right.
think some people counted me out. When I was backstage, you guys, I was on the Miss Texas page so much because I was dancing, I was laughing, I was engaging
See?
with the people. And the people recording backstage, like, they loved me. They loved the energy, because to me, it's about having fun. It's about
That's right.
creating these lifelong memories and building these friendships
Right.
and just networking. And so they were into it. So I'm thinking to myself, I can't be doing anything wrong. If the
Right.
productions team is liking where I'm going. So that's, like I said, this year for me, I was so proud of myself. Sometimes it stings when I think about it, but to be able to say that there has not been a Black first runner up since 2007, when it was Crystal Stewart, and the last Black Miss Texas USA was 2008, Crystal Stewart. So being able to be in those shoes and to continue breaking barriers and being that representation,
right.
I really can't complain.
That's right. That was incredible. Incredible. Now, Miss Black USA 2011. We saw your video when you were crowd. Like, what were you? You were in the back, like Sydney said. You were in the back,
Yeah.
and when they said from Texas, you're just like, what was the first thing that went through your mind when you heard from
Oh,
Texas?
I think maybe I thought it's happening. And I was just trying to tell myself to take it in.
Take it in.
Like,
Yeah.
take it in.
But it was on your list of goals. You said, I
Absolutely.
watched your story. That was one of the things on your list, Miss Black USA or Miss America.
Right.
We'll
absolutely.
take it. We'll take Black USA. It works. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. As a senior in high school, one of my goals was to win a national crown, and the two
Yeah.
badges I thought was like a fit for me were one of those two, and I did it. And so it was
Wow.
just about taking it in, just really taking it in. I went all the way, like, take in this moment, because you only get one moment that
That's
you
right.
won Miss Black USA. You don't
Yeah.
get that moment again. I had
When
that
I watched that, Acelia, I thought about your story.
Aw.
17 years old. You guys didn't really have the money. You lost your dad at 10. You've already been through so many things that were heartbreaking that you've had to overcome at a young age. And everything that you said you were going to do, you did it. But this is the part that I loved about you, and I love about you too, Sydney. You took God with you.
Mhm.
And that is what has to come out of all of this. Yes, you were on that stage. God put you there, and you didn't
right.
forget it.
Yes.
And he's keeping you on that stage, and he's trusting you with his word. He not only gave you a husband that preaches the word, but he's given you all these young people that he's entrusting with you because he trusts you with his word. So like we started our broadcast today, we talked about the formula. We talked about a math equation. You guys know I love to use just simple things to come up with a mahogany motivational moment. And today it was about an equation. And I said on both sides of that sign, you have numbers. You have another number that's added to it or taken away or multiplied or divided. And such is life. We add things. God takes things away. He multiplies some things, and some things that we engage in divides us from him. But at the end of the day, the formula is the word of God. And when you apply that formula So no matter what situation, because it doesn't matter how big or small that number is, doesn't matter how big or small that situation is, you get a result when you apply the formula. And in this case, when you apply the word of God, believing, trusting, and all of that, you get the results. And these ladies are proof of that today. Now, we can't have a show without bringing the husbands into the
Oh,
picture. Now, Sydney, I know you don't have a husband yet. One day we'll have him on the show.
I
But
don't want one
today,
either.
yeah, I don't want to go there. But listen, I want you to tell us about this man. That's a beautiful photo of you two.
Aw,
thank
And
you.
it takes a good man to be behind a woman like you who's headstrong and doing her thing. So tell us about the Mister.
Well, one of the ways I met the Mister, one of the reasons I met my husband Rod is through my Miss Black USA experience because I garnered about $8,000 in scholarships participating in the program. And so I was able to go to graduate school. And for me, graduate school was seminary. So I completed my bachelor's degree in music, as I said earlier, but I felt God was calling me to go deeper in study and to go to Bible college. So I obtained my master's in theological studies at Southwestern Seminary. And it was, while being a student at Southwestern Seminary, I was attending actually a conference that was off campus that I met my hubby. He was there working
Aw.
the conference on behalf of the seminary. And so we connected, and he said within 5 minutes, he prayed and was like, God, she's the one. I did not know this, that he was praying just after talking to me 5 minutes. I was like, oh, he's really nice. And I moved on. But then we reconnected a year later, and we courted and got married. And we got married right before the pandemic in 2019. And he is truly one of the greatest men I've ever met. One of the things that stood out to me about him was just his love for God and his integrity. One of the things about me that I don't share as much publicly as I used to when I was younger is that I waited until marriage. And so my husband was a great man. Like he was not a virgin like I was, but he had that same commitment when we met that he wanted to do
Wow.
things right. And so, like, that was one of the things that really stood out to me about him. He is a great thinker. He is everything that I am not. So he's analytical. He's a great thinker. He's a processor. He's incredibly organized and administrative. I'm a creative. I'm a very much of a free spirit. And so we balance each other. His strengths and his gifts balance who I am. And he's currently working on his PhD in leadership and business.
Oh,
I
wow.
said,
Nice.
I'm pushing him forward in his PhD. I'm just still
Mhm.
with my master's. We both graduated seminary together, and I'm good with that. But he moved forward with his PhD in leadership and business. And now we are in the process of planting a church here in Northwest Fort Worth, Thrive Church. So anyone who's interested, they can follow Thrive Church FW on social media. We're there, Instagram, Facebook, any social media outlets. Look for Thrive Church FW, and that is our ministry that we are starting now.
Wow. And your ministry with the young girls and women, talk to us about that because I love that you're teaching them that beauty is more than just this.
Yes,
Fate, right?
yes, absolutely. So my
Talk about
platform when
that.
I was in pageantry was More Than a Pretty Face, and it's now my LLC, More Than a Pretty Face International. And one of the products that I have available for teen girls in particular is my book, More Than Pretty: Redefining Beauty Through the Lens of Scripture. And that Bible study is available on Amazon, Lifeway, bookstores everywhere. But it really helps women, and young women in particular, teen girls, to walk through what is biblical, true beauty and how you can develop that. And so there's a video that comes with the curriculum, but I do work to help women and girls, whether it is their spiritual development, their professional development as an etiquette coach, and personal development through pageantry. The pageant coaching arm of my company is called Slayer Pageant. You can follow me on, oh, thank you, Sydney. Just Slayer Pageant. It's on Instagram. You can follow Slayer Pageant. And if you want more information about More Than a Pretty Face International and the work I do with women and their spiritual, personal, and professional development, you can just visit Acelia.com. That's just OCIELIA.com.
I love that. I love your name. I understand that
Thank
you were named
you.
after your grandmother.
Yes, I'm named after my
Oh,
grandmother. Her name was OC. And my
oh,
mother named me after her, OC. Yeah. So
It's
I call
beautiful.
myself OC 2.0. I'm the new school version of
Oh, I
OC.
love
She's the
it. I love
original.
it.
I'm the
Right. She's the original OG. I love it. OC. OG. Listen, Sydney, you have a question on the table. Will Sydney compete for Miss
oh
Black USA?
I will say I don't know. I don't even know what the requirements are for that. I will
yeah
say I do follow them. So I do follow their page, and I've seen some of the girls, and they support me. I support them. I will
yeah.
say I do have my mind pretty set on Miss Texas USA as of
I think you
now.
should.
So
I think
that
you
has
should go for Miss USA.
well, truthfully, my goal is Miss Universe. So, I mean, that is something that is just, I feel like God just planted in my heart. And, it turns out to be true, I would be so honored to. But I want to go, I want to reign fully at each level, state, national, and international. It would be such a blessing. And my mom and I were just talking about that the other day. And I'm just, continuing to push forward and to continue breaking barriers and showing up with who I want to show up with, and not regretting that, or allowing people to push me and go the way that they think that I should go. So I will say I've been pretty solid about listening to my heart and trusting myself, and I think that that's really important. Also, trusting God and praying and asking him to speak through me, work through me, guide me, lead me, everything. So I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well, his
Right now,
hands.
like I said, Texas, I have my eyes set on Texas.
Well, you're gonna get it next
What'd you
time.
say?
I'm gonna
You
be in the.
are.
You're gonna get it the next time. I'm gonna be in the building next time. And if you don't get
Ah!
it, we're gonna shut it down. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm
Well,
not gonna be the ghetto kind of that comes. No.
well, honestly, I will say that some people say there is a pressure returning as a first runner up, or like Acelia said, she was second runner up twice in a row, so I can only imagine. But I will say I'm so blessed. I don't feel any pressure. I'm very grateful for the time that I do have to compete, and I just want to focus on just outdoing myself the time before, and not necessarily putting that pressure on myself, because I know the time is coming. I just don't know when it is, and I really just want to focus on being ready whenever that is, and not putting a cap or a limit to what that will look like, and putting myself in a box.
I talked to your mom before the show
Oh,
because
you
I
did?
wanted, of course, of course. And I was like, what is something about Sydney that she probably thinks I don't know? And,
Yeah.
of course, she told me stuff that I do know. But I want everybody to know that one of the things that you love cooking. She's very proud of her cooking dishes
Ah,
that she does.
yeah.
And one thing I love about you too that she said, and I agree with, is you love to empower other young women and
Yeah.
see them win. And that's why I thought that you and Acelia were a great match to be on the show today. I think that she's definitely a good mentor for you. I hope that she will definitely help you in any way. I already know she will. I know, but
Yeah.
I love about you, Sydney, that you have not compromised at all what you believe. And you've been in 5 pageants, and you're already first runner up in Miss Texas USA. So I do think that your future is bright because you know who you are, and you know whose you are. And I love that. You're
Amen.
wearing your natural hair. I love it. Being
Yeah.
authentic. Yes.
I will say it, not that I was easily persuaded, but I will say I did find myself in a little bit of a sticky situation multiple times, working with those coaches who have been in the industry, and they've been doing it for years and years and years. And I respected that. But at the same time, you do have to understand like differing backgrounds and differing visions, differing outlooks and perspectives. And I think this year was really just about trusting myself, because unfortunately some of the people that I was working with weren't in my corner. And that was a hard pill that I had to swallow. It wasn't always like, oh, I can just do this and be whoever I wanted to be. That was a bridge that I had to build and cross over. And that was something that I've done very recently.
Oh,
Wow.
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 Yeah.
That's powerful, Sydney.
Yeah.
And
It,
what
it
you're
was it was hard. It was scary, but
uh,
I think that was another reason why winning first runner up at Miss Texas was so important to me. Or not important, but it was so rewarding, because I did it my way and I did what I felt was right. And I just dropped a lot of the negativity, and that is scary. It's scary, you know, doing something that you're unsure of, or, you know, you have people in your ear trying to persuade you to go left when you want to go right. And, you know, at the end of the day, I said, you know what? I am using the time that I have to my advantage. And this year was an experiment for me.
Yeah.
And that was something that I wanted to do. And that's something that I'm so glad that I did, because I'm able
Yes.
to empower other women. Like, yes, I do believe in coaching. I do believe in working with people that will help you and guide you. But I also believe in, if they are not, you know, showing that they're for you, you have to understand and trust yourself,
Right.
because you're a star. We're all stars, you know, and it's sometimes we work with people and they make you feel like they made you a star. We're all stars. We just have to figure out what
No.
makes us shine.
Oh, you're hitting a nerve for me, Sydney. As a coach now, because I coach full time. That's mostly what I spend my time doing, is working with different pageant contestants around the country.
I love
And
that.
something I pride myself on as a coach is being collaborative, because I know what that felt like as a
Yes.
contestant, working
Yes.
with coaches that didn't want to listen to you, that were just so narrow-minded in the way to make things happen for you. Like, they don't want to listen to your opinion. They treat you like a Barbie doll that you just need to shut up, do what I
Like
tell
a robot.
and a robot. Say what I tell you to say, wear what I tell you to wear. And so that's why my approach is so collaborative. And what I tell my clients after they win their competitions and they do great or do things, you know, the things that they have in their heart to do, I tell them, thank you for trusting me to be a part of your pageant success. I'm not
I
responsible.
love that.
You
I love
did the work. Thank you for trusting me to be a part of helping you to reach your dreams. So very true. You struck a nerve with me. I know what that feels like. That's why I approach coaching the way that I do with young women.
No, and I think that's really what will, you know, you're already successful, but and I really think that that's what brings the clientele back, you know, because, you know, the one thing is, I've been drawn in from, people act a certain way to get you to be drawn in and to get you to be interested. And then, you know, when they feel that they have you where they want you, that's when it really comes out, you know.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate, you know, there's a lot of girls, you know, thinking about the situation with Chessie Chris, and, you know, there was a couple of other pageant girls that had decided, you know, to cut their life short, and it's just a very unfortunate situation. It's so sad, but it's so real. And to me, that's something that we, you know, as a competitor, we have to understand too, and take a step back and say, what is it that I really want out of this? And
Absolutely.
when you figure that out, to me, that is what makes the experience so much better, so much fun. I used to be so stressed out. I was so anxious about everything. But when you're like, okay, this is an experience. This is something that I genuinely enjoy doing. These are things that I get to present to other people. When you break it down and you think about it in simpler terms, for me, it's easier to digest, and there's a lot less negativity or stress and anxiety centered around it. And I just want it to be a positive experience, however the outcome turns out.
That's right. Amen.
Yeah.
So listen, guys, we're almost out of here. I will definitely have to bring you guys back. This was incredible. I have truly enjoyed you guys. Like, I've learned so much. Now I know why I was never in pageants. Yeah. Yeah.
I think anybody can do a pageant.
Oh no.
Me
baby.
too.
Oh.
See that?
Okay, well, when they have the one where it's like the OG special, like, you know, the OGs, you
They
know,
have
I'd
it.
be more okay.
Yeah,
Bob, sign me up.
Judge.
Sign me
So-
up.
some-
Sign me up. I'll do it. You know why? Because, you know, having models touch that a little bit and walking the runway, I love that. Like, I was never afraid. I was always excited about that. It's just the swimsuit and all that stuff. Oh, that's the only thing. That's the reason I wouldn't have wanted, because I was telling Sydney that there was a competition back in high school that I wanted to be in, and my talent was I was gonna dance like Janet Jackson. I was gonna do the pleasure principle. I was gonna do the chair, the whole thing, but then I didn't. You know, and so when I heard your story, Acelia, I was like, you know what, this is great, because she did go forward and she went all the way. And I have to meet her. And I am so honored that Esther, thank you, Esther, you're watching, because Esther is the one that put this together. She introduced us. Star Jones, she said, is what you know her. And anything you guys want to tell everybody before we get out of here? Anything at all? Like say hello to your hubby, stuff like that.
I'll say hello to my hubby. I know he's watching from another room. So hi,
Yes.
hubby.
Hi, hubby.
Cute.
And I just want to share to everyone, if you want to connect with me and the work that I'm doing to help women and to help girls, or if you're a pageant competitor that wants to connect, you can follow me at Acelia on all social media handles. That's the beauty of having a unique name, Ocielia. Oh, you put the website at the bottom. Thank you.
I misspelled it the first time, but it's all good.
It's okay. So yeah, just connect with me there. Connect with our church, which is at Thrive Church FW on social media, or my pageant coaching brand, Slate Your Pageant. And I would love to connect with you all. Send me a message.
Sydney, anything before we get out of here, dear?
Yeah, well, first off, thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed meeting Acelia, hearing her story. So it's been really inspiring as well. Also being able to just talk to all of the people who are willing to listen to me ramble. That is always a great experience. So I'm very thankful to the viewers for just being so sweet and supportive. And I will say, if you guys want to keep up with me and all the things that I'm working on, I am pretty heavily involved on Instagram, and it is my name, Sydney B. Leonard. So I can probably type it in the comment section or anything like that. But I post a lot. I post my fitness videos. I post my cooking videos. I post my modeling work, and just the support. I would really appreciate it from all of you guys.
And also those of you that are film producers that are out there, my cousin, Sydney, is an aspiring actress. She wants to act. She wants to be in the movie. So, hit her up. Nothing crazy. No scammers, none of that kind of stuff. Because she's not, it's not like that. So, but if she definitely wants to do that, because I know you didn't talk about that at all, but I know that's something that's near and dear to your heart, and your cooking.
Okay.
So I see a cooking show in your future, Sydney. Really?
Yeah.
No, I do. No, we'll talk.
It's crazy that you mentioned that. I know we have to go, but I definitely think one of the reasons I kind of wooed the judges in my interview this year specifically, they asked me so many great questions, but I remember they asked me about my passion for cooking, and I told them I wanted to be a Black Rachel Ray.
I see it. I didn't know that, but I see it. I really do.
I would love to do it, and I just talked all about it and why it was important to me, but I would absolutely love to be on a cooking show.
Awesome. No, I mean, it's going to be your cooking show.
Yes, my very own cooking show.
Oh, okay. Let's get it clear. No, you're not going to be signed under someone else. No.
No. I'm doing my own thing.
Sydney B. The Sydney B or something like that. Yeah. All right. Sounds good, guys. Well, listen, I want to thank all of you for tuning in to the Ella Johnson Show. Tune in next week. I have Joyce Watson. She's coming back. If you were watching my broadcast last week, I interviewed her son, Bud of the Preacher, who was on my broadcast, I hope you guys are voting for him because he's in line to be the 2022 Hip Hop Artist of the Year. Well, his mama is going to be here, and she wanted to share her story. She said to me, Ella, I've never shared my story publicly, but I want to do it on your broadcast. So I'm honored. She'll be here next week, 6 p.m. Eastern, on the Ella Johnson Show, Facebook and YouTube Live, to tell her story. If you're out there and you want to share your story, there's no judgment here. That's why I love for people to come here. Tell your story right here, guys. With that said, I want everyone to have a great week. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week, right here, same time.
Bye.
We are supporters of the Ella Johnson Show. We live in South Korea. We have been watching Ella Johnson Show for like a year now, and we love her show. Her show is very inspirational, motivational, and educational.
If you would like to be a guest on The Ella Johnson Show, send an email to theellajohnsonshow@gmail.com or send a text message to 407-334-6997.
Thank you so much for tuning in to The Ella Johnson Show.
The Ella Johnson Show on Sundays, 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central, for more new, exciting shows. We'll see you there.
We love Ella Johnson Show.